Double or Nothing 2022 is one of the most anticipated pay-per-views in AEW history, featuring several top cards on the stars. CM Punk, Jon Moxley, MJF, Britt Baker and Adam Cole, to name a few, are set to compete at the event with World Championships basically across the board on the line. So yeah, like I say, a huge show, and let's get straight into it with the buy-in, and Hook and Harryhausen taking on Tony Nese and Mark Sterling. Hook quickly got the better of Nese in the match, forcing the latter to roll outside. Danhausen tagged to unleash a flurry of offense on Nese, including Hurricane Rana. However, the former WWE star took him down with a brutal area, after which he and Mark Sterling isolated and methodically wore him down. A few moments later, Danhausen finally tagged in Hook, who took down Tony Nese with a German suplex, and instead followed it, taking him down Sterling. However, instead of pinning him, he himself Hook tagged in Danhausen, who pinned Sterling to pick up the victory. And yeah, this gets 7 out of 10 from me. Just brilliant stuff. Love the Hookhausen stuff, and Jeff, for a really entertaining match to kick off the night, it's really good. 7 out of 10. Before we got MJF versus Wardlow. At the start of the earth rolled outside, seconds after the match got underway. MJF then got back from where Wardlow attempted the powerbomb, forcing him to roll back out again. Both performers were finally back in the ring where Mr Mayhem attempted the powerbomb, but MJF bit his head. The Pinnacle leader soon began selling a leg injury, which turned out to be an act. He soon pulled out the dynamite down the ring, however the referee quickly took it away. MJF then extended his hand, which Wardlow shook, however he refused to leave his former stablemate's hand. Mr Mayhem then finally had powerbomb, following it up by executing as many as 9 more for the vertical squash win. Post-match, MJF was stretched out with fans chanting, "You deserve it." Legendary broadcaster Tony Schiavone later announced that Wardlow was part of the AEW roster. And yeah, this was really good, especially with the whole backdrop of everything that's going on before. In terms of the match itself, it wasn't like the greatest match on the night, but you know, it did what it needs to. Made Wardlow look like an absolute beast. MJF got his comeuppance. Yeah, exactly what everyone wants to see. So that gets an 8 out of 10 from me. And then just the whole backdrop. I mean, like, personally, I just can't believe anything about MJF, because I know exactly what he's like. It could easily be a work. But yeah, that just added an extra element to that match, and it made it really interesting. So work or not, I thought it was very good. 8 out of 10. The Young Bucks then took on the Hardys. Matt Jackson and Matt Hardy casted things off in the match, with the former using his speed and agility to deceive the veteran. The Hardys unleashed some double offense to gain control of the bout. Matt Hardy then took down Jackson with a lariat and a suplex, after which they dropped Nick Jackson on top of his brother. Moments later, the Young Bucks found their way back into the Dream Tag Team match after Nick took down Matt with a super kick. The former AEW Tag Team Champions then turned their attention to Jeff, isolating him. On the outside, Brandon Cutler took advantage of the distracted ref and took down Matt Hardy. Jeff Hardy went to the top rope, from where he took down Nick with the Whisper in the Wind. Jeff finally tagged on Matt, who took out Nick, Matt and Cutler single-handedly. He then connected the side effect on Nick for a close count. The action spins to the outside, where Nick Jackson superkicked Jeff, sending him crashing into Matt Jackson and Matt Hardy. Back in the ring, Nick Jackson accidentally kicks his brother and Cutler, which allowed the Hardys to find their footing back in the match. Matt and Jeff connected with Poetry in Motion on Matt. Jeff next attempted the Swanton Bomb, but Matt Jackson moved aside just in time. Young Bucks then took both Hardys with super kicks. They unleashed a flurry of kicks on their opponents as the crowds booed, and Cutler then sat at the steel sets on the outside. Matt Jackson placed Jeff on top of it, and Nick Jackson to the top rope. However, Hardy quickly recovered and took it out Nick. Jeff placed Matt on the steel sets and took down him with a Swanton Bomb. Back in the ring, Matt Hardy then hit the Twist of Fate on Nick Jackson, but he kicks out. However, Jeff Hardy took him down with a Swanton Bomb for the victory. And yeah, this was really good. For me, this absolutely over-delivered an expectation. I thought it would be a decent match, but you know, maybe not quite the peak of powers of what they could do. But for me, it really was. It was 8 out of 10 quality stuff from me. Brilliant action throughout the show, and yeah, really entertaining stuff. Great stuff, loved it. Jay Cargill versus Anna Jay for the TBS title was up next. As soon as the bell rang, Jay unleashed her offense, but she was no match for Cargill, who soon took her down with a power slam. Both performers were now on the rope, from where Jay executes the suplex. Anna Jay next hit a flipping neckbreaker, but couldn't bring down Jay Cargill to her knees. Red Velvet and Kira Hogan soon interfered, whom Jay took out. Jay Cargill then attempted the JW inside the ring, but Anna Jay broke out of it. Sterling was next to interfere, which Jay used to her advantage by attacking Cargill with a crutch. Anna Jay then applied the Queen Stare on Jay Cargill, but the TBS champion broke out of it. Both performers were again on the top rope, where Jay was distracting a debuting Stokely Hathaway, aka Malcolm Bivens, who walked down with the entrance ramp, allowing Jay Cargill to hit the avalanche Jay did for the victory. Post-match, Statlander walked into the ring to assist Anna Jay, followed by the debuting Antina, also known as Emma Moon. The trio then confronted the baddie section, and yeah, really interesting for Malcolm Bivens and Emma Moon to debut, and yeah, definitely interesting. Great pickups for AEW. They'll be very pleased with that. And yeah, it definitely adds a new dimension for the women's division. But as for the match itself, I mean, like, it was alright. To be honest though, after the first 2 matches, it kind of didn't feel like a come down, so on the whole I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10, but the match wasn't terrible, it's just kind of more the positions where it was placed in the card kind of let it down for me. Death Triangle then took on the House of Black in a trios match. Phoenix and Black started things off with a back and forth exchange. Buddy Matthews is next tagged in. He went one-on-one with Penta, taking him down with a Hurricane Rana. Next, Brody King battered Pac thanks to his size advantage. Pac fought him off with Black and King on his own. Penta and Phoenix then soon entered the ring after Malachi Black and King, after which Pac and Matthews traded blows, with the latter taking out the British Star with a brutal knee strike. House of Black was once again tormented and isolating Pac. The latter continued cannonball attempt from Brody King, after which he finally tagged in Phoenix, who single-handedly took out Black and Matthews. Penta and Phoenix next took out House of Black with a suicide dive. Moments later, Matthews hit a suplex on the Phoenix on the floor. Things soon turned chaotic, with all members crashing into each other on the outside. Back inside the ring, Penta took out Buddy Matthews with a Canadian Destroyer on the ring apron. Death Triangle surrounded Black in the ring as a trio managed to flurry his super kicks on him. Black then landed a couple of Black Masters on Phoenix and Penta, effectively taking them down. He then shifted his attention to Pac. The former Cruiserweight champion of WWE then took advantage of the distraction of the referee and hit a low blow on Black, but just as he took off the top rope, the lights went off and out came Julia Hart. He spit mist in Pac's face. This allowed Malachi Black to hit the Black Mass on Pac for the victory. And yeah, for me this gets a 7 out of 10 from me. Yeah, really fun match. Probably exactly what I expected. But on the whole, still a really fun match. So yeah, 7 out of 10. Good stuff, and for me the right result. Samoa Joe and Adam Cole were then competing next in the final of the Owen Hart's Foundation's men's tournament. The Samoan submission machine landed several blows on Cole in the opening moments of their match, followed by hitting a series of shots. The Panama City playboy then rolled outside the ring, where Joe countered to manhandle him by hitting shots. However, just then Cole connected a super kick out of nowhere, after which he sent Joe crashing into the ring post. Back inside the ring, the former NXT champion continues to target the ROH TV champion's weakened shoulder. Cole then attempts the Panama City Sunrise, but Joe countered it just in time. Moments later, hitting a senton for a close count. Cole tried for the boom, but Joe took him down with a lariat. Next, Adam Cole applied a crossface, but Samoa Joe reached the ropes. Moments later, the latter took down Cole with a powerbomb and applied the STF. Bobby Fish then soon interfered, which allowed Adam Cole to go for the boom. Though Joe successfully tackled it, Fish got back in again and distracted Joe, allowing Cole to connect with a boom for the W. And Joe gets an 8 out of 10 from me. Really great match. Seeing just 2 brilliant wrestlers compete. For shame to have interference, but for Cole it kind of makes sense, and also it protects Joe with his first loss. So yeah, on the whole, good stuff. And yeah, intrigued to see where Cole goes now with the whole Undisputed Elite storyline. But yeah, for this match alone, it was really good. 8 out of 10, loved it. Britt Baker was then taking on Ruby Soho in the final of the Women's Owen Hart Foundation tournament. Fans started a dual chant as they started things off in their match. Both performances went for back and forth in the first few minutes, with neither having any clear-cut advantage. The Doctor rolled outside where Ruby Soho struck her with a dropkick. Soho next dropped Baker with a suplex, after which she brought her opponent back inside the ring. Baker soon gained control of the match as she brutalised Ruby, with the latter struggling. The Doctor now began targeting the former Raw superstar's ribs. Baker then came into position for the Pittsburgh Sunrise, but Soho got back on her feet soon and climbed to the top rope and dropped Baker with a suplex. Both performers were trading strikes as Baker attempted the curb stomp, but Ruby Soho countered by rolling her up for a 2 count. Soho next hit senton with another close fall, further damaging her weakened ribs. Baker soon capitalised on this by laying her down with a curb stomp, but Soho kicked out just in time. Baker then went for a lockjaw, but Soho managed to counter by hitting the No Future. She next applied the Sharpshooter on the Doctor, but the latter reached the ropes after a lot of struggle. Moments later, Baker rolled out of nowhere to win the tournament. And post-match, Baker shook hands with Ruby Soho as a mark of respect. She then walked down the entrance ramp. Red and Cole and Tony Schiavone were there to present the trophies. The WCW legend brought out Martha Hart, who delivered a heartfelt speech and presented Cole and Baker with their belts. And yeah, just a really nice ending. First time we've seen Cole and Baker as a couple on TV. So yeah, really enjoyed this. Brilliant speech from Martha Hart, but on the match itself, gets 7 out of 10 from me. Really good stuff. Maybe Ruby could have gone for the win here, but personally I would have liked to see Britt get the win, so I got what I wanted, but I can see the alternative argument. But on the whole, the match was really good. Slightly disappointing to end in a roll up, but for what it was solid enough. 7 out of 10. Men of the Year and Paige Vanzant versus Sami Guevara take on Team Frankie Kazarian was up next. Sky and Kazarian started things off in the match, but the latter quickly tags in Sami Guevara. Scorpio Sky 2 tags in Ethan Page. The former Impact Wrestling star had a fiery exchange with Guevara, dropping him with a Picture Perfect power slam for a 2 count. Sky was soon tagged in, unleashing a flurry of offense on the Spanish God. However, Tay Conti took advantage of the distracted ref and attacked Sky from behind. Conti and Guevara then dropped Sky with a suplex while the referee dealt with Page Vanzant. Paige soon distracted Kazarian, allowing Scorpio Sky to attack Kazarian. The veteran performer then went for the tag, but Guevara and Conti were busy pandering to the crowd. Paige, Vanzant and Tay Conti were finally tagged on, with Vanzant dropping Conti with a suplex. The former MMA star then hit a low blow and a DDT on Guevara, followed by executing the Michinoku driver on Tay Conti. The Spanish God soon distracted Vanzant, allowing Conti to attack her. Just then, Paige and Sky made their way into the ring, with both sides coming to blows. Kazarian and Conti got into an argument, after which Guevara accidentally attacked his girlfriend. Kazarian then threw Guevara on the outside. This allowed Scorpio Sky to capitalise and hit the TKO for the win on his former tag team partner. And yeah, it gets a 6 out of 10 for me. It wasn't a terrible match at all. There's some interesting storyline dynamics in it, but to be honest, it's just because I've just got such lack of investment in the storyline. Yeah, I'm just not really enjoying it at all, really, and hopefully this marks the end of it. Now Guevara can't challenge for the TNT title. So yeah, pretty please, this is the end of it, but 6 out of 10 from me. Darby Allin versus Kyle O'Reilly was up next at Double or Nothing. Allin and O'Reilly quickly got into the thick of things as they began trading stiff blows seconds into the match. The former NXT Tag Champion targeted Allin on the left shoulder, dropping him with a suplex. Allin retaliated by hitting the Scorpio Death Valley driver on his opponent. The former TNT Champion then went for the suicide dive on the outside, but had a landing. Allin went for the dive again, but this time Kyle O'Reilly cancelled. The former WWE star hit Brainbuster for a close count. Moments later, Allin applied the sharpshooter, but O'Reilly touched the ropes. Allin then next hit a coffin drop on Kyle O'Reilly on the ring apron, with both falling to the floor. Back inside the ring, both falling were training blows before falling to their knees. In the end, Kyle O'Reilly finally got the better of Darby Allin with a diving knee from the top rope to pick up the victory. And yeah, this gets a 7 out of 10 from me. Personally didn't see this result coming. It kind of did feel rushed, like I've mentioned previously, but you know, on the whole, not a terrible match at all. And Kyle O'Reilly's getting a bit of a push, it seems, which is great for me, because yeah, I'm a big fan of him. But yeah, shame for Darby to lose this, but on the whole, for just a decent little match on here, it wasn't terrible. 7 out of 10. Thunder Rosa versus Serenade was up next. Rosa and Deeb looked equally poised in the opening moments of the match. The Women's Champion then took down Deeb with a couple of arm grabs before rolling up for a close count. The Professor then retaliated by sending Thunder Rosa crashing into the ring post. Deeb next executed a swinging neckbreaker for a 2 count. Both performers were now trading uppercuts, after which Rosa hit a brutal lariat to bring Deeb to her knees. Now Rosa then next sent her opponent crashing into the turnbuckle, followed by hitting a drop kick for a close count. Next, the Professor applied the stretch mat for Rosa, who was visibly in pain. The Women's Champion then managed to get out of the hold and then smashed Deeb's knees on the mat, and Thunder Rosa hit a Death Valley driver for another close count. Moments later, Deeb locked in the figure 4 leg lock, but Rosa managed to break out by rolling to the outside. Deeb next hit the Dragon Screw and crossface for another 2 count. She dropped Rosa with a powerbomb and then applied the Cloverleaf, but the Women's Champion reached the ropes. Both performers were now on the top rope, from where Thunder Rosa hit a suplex and following it with Thunder Driver to retain her title. And yeah, gets an 8 out of 10 from me. Really fun match between two of the best wrestlers in the women's division at the moment. Of course it's going to be great, and yeah, for me, Rosa retaining the title for a bit longer is good, and Deeb can still get over and defeat having a good match like that. So yeah, 8 out of 10 from me. The Jericho Appreciation Society versus Blackpool Combat Club, Eddie Kingston, Pound and Powerful, was up next. Both sides came to blows among the crowd, with members of both stables hammering each other as Moxley's theme music continued playing. Moxley and Jericho balleted it in the middle of the Las Vegas crowd, while Kingston beat down Dirty Magic backstage. Santana then took out Hager at ringside by smashing him through a table. Garcia dropped Ortiz with a brutal power driver on the steel set. Danielson and Moxley now came together to deal with the champion and Angelo Parker at ringside. Backstage, Garcia hammered Eddie Kingston with an elbow shot. Moxley took down the water box and smashed it across Jericho's face. Garcia then tied the belt across Kingston's neck and dragged him. Jericho then applied the walls of Jericho on Moxley at the top of the timekeeper's area, but it seemed collapsed. John Moxley next took out Jericho with a top rope suicider. Danielson then brawled with Jake Hager, beating him down with kicks. Hager retaliated by dropping Danielson with a suplex on the floor. Moxley unhooked the turnbuckles and began beating down Jericho with them. Backstage, Eddie Kingston and Garcia continued brawling. Santana and Ortiz were brawling with Daddy Magic, and Carl Parker were among the crowd. Santana and Ortiz then climbed a ladder from where they jumped onto Parker and Daddy Magic. Hager, Danielson and Moxley and Jericho were now inside the ring as they unleashed a flurry of punches on each other. Danielson and Moxley hammered their various strikes on Jericho and Hager respectively. Kingston walked down the entrance ramp, pouring petrol all over Jericho, accidentally spilling it on Danielson, and both came to blows. Jericho then recovered and took Kingston with a Judas effect. The champion then attacked Danielson with the turnbuckle, but the latter kicked out. The American Dragon began fighting Jericho and Jake Hager single-handedly. Danielson took out Hager and Jericho with running knees, but the champion somehow kicked out. Danielson unleashed a series of kicks on Jericho. Hager then appeared from behind and took out Danielson while Jericho avoided the rules of Jericho. Hager wrapped the turnbuckle around Bryan Danielson, forcing him to pass out. And yeah, this was just absolutely brilliant. It gets an 8 out of 10 from me. In fact, no, it gets a 9 out of 10 from me. From the start, this was just brilliant. My sort of wrestling, just chaotic. This is awesome chance. Yeah, was thoroughly fitting, and hopefully this is just the start for both of these tables, because this was just bloody awesome. So yeah, great stuff. Backstage, Andrade introduced his brother and former ROH World Champion Rush as his newest ally in AEW. Dante Martin stepped up as his next challenger to Scorpio Sky's TNT title in another segment. But yeah, interested to see what Rush will do in AEW. That'll be good stuff. Before we got Jurassic Express versus Team Taz versus Lee and Strickland. Things quickly became chaotic in the match at Double or Nothing, with all three sides brawling on the outside. Back inside the ring, Strickland fought off Starks, who soon tagged in Powerhouse Hobbs. Swerve Strickland then tagged in Keith Lee with the two behemoths coming to blow. Next, Jungle Boy was Legal Man in, and he took out Strickland with dual suicide dives. However, when he was about to execute the third one, Keith Lee caught him in midair and smashed him across Luchasaurus' back. Inside the ring, Powerhouse Hobbs and Starks continued to brutalise Jungle Boy. Minutes later, Swerve Strickland was tagged in. He executed a stunning moonsault on the outside, taking out Team Taz and Jurassic Express. Limitless Spine and Strickland were about to go for the finisher, but Hobbs cancels and drops Swerve Strickland from the top rope. Luchasaurus then attempts to chokes down on Powerhouse Hobbs, but the latter got away just in time. Moments later, Hobbs joins hands with Keith Lee to take out Luchasaurus with a chokeslam. The former NXT champion then tossed Hobbs out and delivered a dive to the side with all performers. Luchasaurus and Keith Lee were then trading blows in the ring, but Powerhouse Hobbs came out of nowhere and took them out with net breakers. Hobbs then took out Christian on the outside, which allowed Starks to capitalise and hit the spear on Jungle Boy, but the latter kicked out. Hobbs then drew up Luchasaurus with a spine buster. Lee and Strickland almost won after taking down Starks with a powerbomb storm combo, but Hobbs made to say Starks used his FTW championship to take out Keith Lee. Just as he entered the ring with the title, Christian Cage pulled him out. This allowed Jurassic Express to hit their finisher to retain the titles. And Joe gets a 7 out of 10 from me. In fact, no, I'll give it an 8 out of 10. Really good stuff. And yeah, for me, it's kind of a hard one because none of them were really outstanding favourites here. But you know, for a fun match, it was great stuff. 8 out of 10. Lots going on. And yeah, Jurassic Express retaining is the right decision for me. And I'm kind of intrigued to see where it goes with Christian. But yeah, this is a really fun match. 8 out of 10. It was then main event time as Hangman Paige took in CM Punk for the World Championship. The crowd was split between the two. Brief exchange brutal shots selling their animosity perfectly. Despite Punk's best efforts to slow down the match's pace, Hangman Paige was relentless with strikes and shots. The Second City State managed to gain control of the match, dropping the World Champion with back-to-back slams. The action spilled to the outside where Paige sent Punk crashing into the ring barricade. Back inside the ring, Paige then hit a rolling elbow on Punk, knocking him out. The majority of the fans started booing Paige as he continued to his assault the straight Irish superstar. Paige then took a position to execute the buckshot lariat, but Punk tackled it successfully. On the outside, the anxious millennial cowboy then hit a powerbomb on the ring apron, followed by a flaring lariat. Both performers were then on the top rope, where Punk shot Hangman Paige with a suplex. The former WWE champion next hit a springboard lariat and came close to hitting the GTS. The world champion then delivered an O'Hara moonsault on Punk to the outside. Punk countered the buckshot lariat attempt from Paige, turning it into a sharpshooter. Punk then hit his own buckshot lariat on Paige, albeit a bunch run, as he almost fell to his knees. Hangman Paige next dropped the Second City State with a powerbomb and a Jedi for a very close pound. Paige signalled that delivering a GTS, but Punk countered up with a roundhouse kick. However, Paige quickly recovered and hit the GTS out of nowhere for another close count. Both men were now down on their knees, exchanging elbow strikes. The action spilled to the outside again, where Paige sent Punk crashing into the timekeeper's table. Back inside the ring, Paige attempted the buckshot lariat, but Punk caught him just in time, bringing him into position for the GTS. However, Paige's leg accidentally hit the referee, who was now down and out. Paige then picked up his world title and was about to hit Punk with it, but decided not to. Just then, Paige went for the backshot area, but Punk countered and hit the GTS to win the World Championship and become the new AEW World Champion. And yeah, this was really good. 8 out of 10 for me. A thrilling match. You didn't know which way it's going to go either way. And that made it really fun. And yeah, the match was really good. It's a shame for Hangman Page, because maybe some would say his feud didn't quite live up to expectation. But, for me, it's a shame it didn't. But it's always going to be harder with the belt than without it. But, for me, it's still a very good title reign. And Punk, I can't wait to see what he can do with the belt. But just focusing on this match, it was really good. Some of the Page antics, his character... kind of storyline throughout it was really intriguing. And yeah, Punk getting the win in a really fun match to close off the show. Great stuff. Overall, AEW Double or Nothing gets an 8 out of 10 from me. Yeah, this was a really great show. I've seen some criticism on AEW coming into this one, but for me it was a really, really brilliant show from start to finish. Loads of great action on there, and for me, mostly the right winners, and yeah, just quality wrestling throughout the card. What's not to like? Really, probably the biggest complaint was the length of the show. It just went on for so long, kind of did feel like it was dragging towards the end, but on the whole, it was still really enjoyable throughout, and yeah, absolutely love this pay-per-view. Anyway guys, that's the video. Thanks very much for watching. For like, share, subscribe, as well as comment, and follow on Twitter and subscribe for daily wrestling news, and subscribe to my channel, and I'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace!